Rhonda is a recreational therapist. And, you know, one of the reasons I had Rhonda join us is because of some of the comments she made during one of our recent groups. And it was just really relevant to these times. Ronda Stempien is the owner of Reconnect, provides recreation therapy and community support. Definitely has been a part of our community for many years. And so we're really excited to welcome Rhonda here today to talk about the importance of leisure and recreation during these COVID times. So with no further ado, if you're able to keep yourselves muted, that would be awesome so we can all hear Rhonda. Rhonda has a presentation she's going to share with us. So welcome, Rhonda. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Okay, so this is the first time I've actually done something like this over Zoom. I really think when I'm sharing, I really want it to be all of us kind of working together and having a discussion. And so I don't know, like Kurt's going to monitor this, but you feel free to share ideas, or you can, even if you like text them, or like he said, raise your hand or whatever, because this is really our discussion, our time. But I'm going to start off by giving you a little bit of background, because I know a lot of people in the community, but I don't know that they know how I arrived at where I am at. So it all started when I was working at Palomar College, and I worked through Palomar College for about 10 years as a community adjunct instructor. And I worked in facilities like day programs and day behavioral programs for individuals who had developmental delays or memory care and so forth. And I was actually hired originally to just create a fun, population appropriate activity and exercise program. And as I was doing it, I was really learning a lot about like sensory processing and ways to enhance and focus attention. It was like I was a self learner at that point. I did a lot of research, and I learned from people that I was working with that were experts in their field, OT, PT, speech, and behavioral. And I just kind of grew and developed this, what I would call my signature music and movement group. And then Palomar, like a lot of school districts, started cutting their budget. And my department was starting to cut back. So I thought, I want to figure out how I can keep doing what I'm doing. But I couldn't figure out what that was. So I started researching degrees in speech, or no, that wasn't it. OT, no, it's not quite. Music, nah. And then I found this thing called recreational therapy. And I thought, like most people ask me, what do recreational therapists do? So I started learning. I realized, oh my gosh, that's what I've been doing for 10 years. I have been using recreation and leisure to help individuals maintain or restore or develop, even at incremental amounts, their processing skills, their physical well-being, and so forth. So I was doing that already. So I attended Indiana University Master Program in Recreational Therapy. And that's when I began officially working as a certified recreational therapist. And I worked in skilled nursing facilities, a lot of like residential care and things like that. And then I landed in traumatic brain injury rehab in 2011, I believe it was, at Learning Services. And I just fell in love with working with that population. I was really excited because I got to be part of watching them grow and progress. And it wasn't a declination process. It was more of a helping them regain and grow. So I have been with brain injury since, and then we all know it's just a small community, and so you bump into people here and there. 2014, I had the opportunity to start my own business and working independently. And that's when I really got to do what I really felt was the most exciting to me. And that was helping people in the recovery process when they're going back to a community setting or in their community setting. Because what I found was that that's where people seem to really thrive the most, in the most, if at all able, in their community, in their home, in, even if it's in a community setting in supported living. But so I still do work. Actually, I work a lot with within facilities and supported living. I work with Gail Ludwig, who is pretty well known in the community, speech pathologist. We have a group called Gail Ludwig and Associates. So there I'm working with life skills and mindfulness coach and speech pathology and physical therapy, and offering, I'm part of a team that offers just a really comprehensive therapy for clients in groups and individuals. So that's how I ended up where I ended up. I would have never thought that this would be my path, but now that I'm on it, I realize that this is exactly where I should be. So I'm excited today that Kurt invited me to share just what I've learned over the years, and then my excitement, my passion for my work in this field and with this population. And I am always learning. I am a lifelong learner. I do not know everything. What do they say? I would say I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none. But in the sense that I am learning all the time from working with speech pathology. I'm learning when I'm working with OT, psychotherapy. So I'm just able to learn more and incorporate that into what I do. So, and when it comes to sports, recreation, leisure, I'm also a jack of all trades and master of none, because I will find out what you want, and I will help you, develop those skills, even if it's something I'm not familiar with. So anyway, but so this is fun. This is our conversation because we're talking about fun and games today. Fun and games. So I think the term you liked, Kurt, was, I said, I'm medicine wrapped in sugar.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. And that's really what we need to get back to, if we're not already there, is learning to play again, the value of play. So wait, fun and games. So I have to start this off with, I looked at bumper stickers and t-shirts about fun and play. So here it is. Let's see. These were my favorite. It's all fun and games till someone loses an eye. Then it's just fun you can't see. That's kind of dark. Okay. It's all fun and games until the cops get called. Then it's hide and seek. It's all fun and games until your jeans don't fit anymore. Flirting on the internet, it's all fun and games until someone buys a plane ticket. That sounds personal. It's all fun and games until feelings show up at the playground. Singing in the shower is all fun and games until you get shampoo in your mouth. Then it becomes a soap opera. That's a dad joke. It's all fun and games till Santa checks his naughty list. And this is for all the dogs out there. It's all fun and games until someone ends up in a cone. Okay, so speaking of fun and games, we're going to open this with some fun, and then we'll talk about the value of it. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Am I ready? I'm ready to do that, right?
You are. Go ahead.
Okay. So do you see the two big question marks?
Yes.
All right, we got it. Okay, so here we go. This is, you guys remember Name That Tune? It's a big show back in the 70s, I think. So
we're dating ourselves now, I think.
But we all look so good. So what we'll do is, it doesn't give you enough time, but it'll give you like 5 seconds of a song. I picked the 70s because I think that a lot of good music came out during that time. And so I think a lot of the songs will be pretty familiar. So it gives you like 5 seconds of the song, then you get a little time to guess it. So Kurt, if you want to see if people want to text in, or just to yourself, see if you can remember, or write it down, use the time to use your writing skills.
Or blurt it out. Blurt it out. That'll be fine as well. Unmute yourself, blurt it out.
Okay. Yeah, I think Mark would be good at that
one. Okay, let's see. Okay,
we have a small group today, so you're welcome just to unmute yourself and blurt it out.
Okay. We already skipped the first one. Okay.
Oh.
Okay. This is the 70s quiz. Can you guess the song? Okay, first one. Here we go.
Queen.
Woo!
Oh, somebody knew it. What was it?
Yeah. Here it goes. Bohemian Rhapsody. I couldn't remember the name of it, though. Okay, next one. Let's see. Uh-oh.
I would know.
AC/DC.
Yeah! That John? Good job.
Oh, Mark.
This is my graduation year. I love it. Okay, here we go. Next song.
Led Zeppelin.
Oh.
Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
What was it?
Okay, you guys are too good. You're going to have to name the artist and the song title now.
YMCA.
Yeah.
Ooh, but who was it?
The Village Boys, right? Is that what it is?
Village People.
The Village People. Okay.
YMCA.
I got that wrong.
Okay, next one. Let's go. We're doing good. Oh.
Eagles, Hotel California.
You got it, Mark.
Hotel California, yeah.
Did you say Beatles?
Eagles.
Eagles. Mark got it.
Oh,
Quick.
good. Okay, next.
Hotel California.
Oh.
West Virginia.
John Denver.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
What was the song?
John Denver. Yeah. I was singing
What was
James
the
Taylor, but
song?
Well, hi.
did John Denver write it?
Take me home to the place I belong.
Oh, who's that?
Geez. Saturday Night Fever.
That's wait, that was the movie it was in.
That's
Saturday Night Fever. Oh, okay.
Flash dancing.
I was in love with the lead singer.
Who was that?
Barry
Oh, that was the brother.
or Maurice.
Wait, let's
Was
see.
Robin, Barry, and Maurice. That's Maurice.
Yeah, no, right. BG.
Easy. Let's do a couple more here.
Find myself in times of trouble.
Paul Simon.
Beatles, Let It Be.
Beatles, Let It Be. Who said that?
Paul McCartney.
Oh, I thought it was
Paul
Paul Simon.
McCartney. It was Paul McCartney singing it though, right?
Okay.
Yes.
He didn't get the credit for the title, but yeah.
Let it be, let it be, let it be. And I can hear a bell ring.
I don't know.
Ooh. They made a movie, a musical movie out of it. Mamma Mia?
Oh,
No,
yeah.
Mamma Mia.
Yeah.
ABBA. ABBA, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, one more. We gotta put on a win.
Oh, no. Smoke on the Water.
Oh, good. You got the
Mhm.
name.
Nice.
Deep Purple.
Purple.
Nice.
Good job, guys.
Now, Rhonda,
Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but maybe this is part of what you're doing to us here, but I feel better already.
Right. So think about this. When we're listening to music, okay, so we are activating certain parts of our brain. We're activating especially our limbic system, right? Which sits above the midbrain, and the hippocampus, which has so much to do with memory. But it's interesting with music conjures up more than just memory, like the name of a song. But when you hear a song, you almost remember where you were, what was going on in your life, good or bad. It really brings back emotional memory.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah, and almost visual memory, right? So,
Yeah.
so it's a great activity, and it's good for an aging brain. It's good for a brain that is recovering from injury. It helps. Also, they're finding there's a lot of research that talk about like memory and music, right? Helping with neural plasticity, helping brain, like nerve cells, like rerouting and compensating and working together to compensate where we might have a deficit in our memory. So it's actually brain work, but it's fun work. So I'm gonna use this presentation only as for a guide for our discussion. But we can veer off of it, or we can spend more time on it. You can ask questions. This is just a guide. And this helps me to stay on topic and make sure that I don't forget to discuss something that I wanted to discuss. But I know that this has been such a huge hit on our, this time has been such a huge hit on our personal, leisure and recreation. So many people, oh, my yoga class, my Tai Chi class, I can't go to the movies, all those things, even simply our get-togethers, our social get-togethers, church, things like that have really taken a hit. And so really what I wanted to do today, if nothing else, I want us to be reminded of the value of this part of our life, and that we can be creative and figure it out. It might not look the same. It might not be, the quality might not be, as great, but we can continue, and we should continue to make recreation and leisure a big part of our life where we can. So I'm going to start with, why are you not going to do this? All right. Okay, so going back to, I always like to say the first thing people usually ask is, a recreational therapist is, what is a recreational therapist, or what do you do? So definition, Webster's definition, therapeutic recreation. It's that systematic process that utilizes recreation and other activity-based interventions to address the assessed needs of individuals with illnesses, disability or disabling conditions, and as a mean for psychological and physical health, recovery, and well-being. And what Kurt was saying, he was addressing that sense of well-being, right? So that is the definition. I just kind of like to say it's doing what you want to do after doing what you need to do. So the difference between, say, work and leisure is we have to work, or, you know, we have to attend to our activities of daily living. We have to shower, we have to dress, we have to, you know, exercise, we have to cook our meal. Some of us still, we have to work and things like that. There's 4 types of leisure. So when you think about leisure, there's passive and active leisure, but there's also recreational and public leisure. So public leisure is really what's taken a hit for us. That's, you know, museums, beaches, things like that. Public, being in the public and socializing. So, and again, like I told Kurt, I'm medicine wrapped in sugar. I like to think of recreational therapy like that. Working with individuals who have traumatic brain injury is really just adding another layer of support. So you're not only attending to the well-being of your world, of yourself, but you're also helping adaptively, you know, adaptive support for individuals to maintain, either learn or maintain new functions, with the idea that everything you do, and this is something we take for granted until we have an injury usually, or we age, we don't think about what's happening to our brain or our body when we're exercising or when we're engaging in leisure. So this is what I want the takeaway to be, is to be aware that you're not just goofing around when you're out there fishing. You're not just goofing around when you're watching a movie or reading a book. You're actually working, and especially following an injury. So the 2 things that a recreational therapist focuses on is leisure education and then leisure adaptation. So there's the difference. It's not just teaching, but it's also helping to actually functionally perform those activities. Leisure education, I find, especially because I work with individuals with injuries that were very busy in their lives with raising families, paying for mortgages, fixing their cars, just taking care of their homes. A lot of times they lost that part of themselves. They stopped playing. When we were kids, we played and we just did it instinctually. And thank goodness, because that's where we really learned. We learned physical attributes, behavioral, cognitive. That was what helped us grow. That was our work. And then we grow up and we get busy with work and our own families and life, and we stop playing sometimes. A lot of times, the clients that I work with have lost that, and they don't really know, they haven't been in touch with that part of them. So leisure education is sometimes helping them find out what is it that you enjoy? Sometimes it's, what did you used to enjoy? What have you always wanted to do, right? What have you gotten away from? And then leisure adaptation is exactly that. Let's see if I can move this around. If I can move this around, I can show you some. Here's some examples of how recreational therapy adaptation might work. So here's, if you like fishing, but now you have trouble with your grasping. There's adaptive equipment. This one is actually an attachment on a wheelchair. So if you're not ambulatory, this one is for a gentleman or gentlewoman, I can't tell, who might have trouble grasping it while they're casting or whatever, right? So let's see, here's some for golf. If bending is an issue, there is what they call the T-PAL, and I've had a couple clients that have used that, and it helps you to pick up and place the ball. There's again, for grasping problems, that's a grip lock, and most of these things are not very expensive. Obviously, there are some that, I mean, if you look at this gentleman who's a photographer, he has like what they call like a sleeve. I think it's a shoulder strap or shoulder cup, and it holds the equipment, and then he's able to use his mouth to actually trigger the button. And then we've got, I like this golf. Torrey Pines used to have a couple of these golf carts. I don't know if they still do, if anybody else out there knows. This is for somebody who is maybe not ambulatory or is working on balance and strength, lower body strength. They actually have the seat that swivels and comes up, and you can golf without standing. So you can do it from your chair. And what else? There's art, craft, adaptable equipment. They're for computer if you want to get into writing or just simply emailing and all that stuff. So the opportunities are endless. We just have to be willing to really research it. So when we think about what leisure is, we talked about it. I didn't put all of them, but there's passive leisure and active leisure, and that's what most people think about. Passive leisure and active leisure. But like I said, there's recreational leisure and public leisure. So passive leisure, what would somebody think of as passive leisure? You can shout it out. Reading,
Watching television.
That's right, watching television, watching movies. How about what we were doing, listening to music, right? Also, then there's active, and we think of that like performing, right? Active, we're actually getting our heart rate up more. What would something like that be? And it doesn't have to be weight bearing, like running.
Playing games.
Well, okay, now I would say it depends what kind of games.
Yeah.
Soccer games or tennis games, sure.
Party games or Monopoly games.
Yeah, but that would almost be a little bit more like recreational or passive. But yeah, but think about, how about this, Leanne? Riding a bike, swimming, hiking. So you're more actively involved. Your body's more actively involved. Recreational would be, this is always trickier. I think of this in public as kind of the same. Like, where did your kids always want to go where Mickey Mouse lived?
Disneyland.
Yeah, going to Disneyland, going to a water park. Those are recreational kind of activities. And then public, again, that's it crosses over, and public would be going to museums or landmarks and going to the beach, relaxing at the beach or walking on the beach. So So those are the kinds of leisures. I have a couple photographs that kind of we could think of as passive, just sitting on the lake, maybe playing checkers, gardening. We didn't talk about gardening. That could be kind of active and passive depending. I work up a sweat when I'm gardening sometimes, depending on, you know, what I'm doing. Fishing, reading, all those things. And then active, of course. Oh, we didn't talk about skiing, and we did talk about swimming, cycling, skating, something I never do anymore because I'm not willing to risk the injury. Running, walking, hiking. And there's your game, Leanne, you were saying, like volleyball.
Yeah.
That's playing a game, but it's a more active game.
Physical, yeah, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, think of physical. That's a good way of doing it. I mean, so I hope you can see that okay. So the goals that we're addressing, because we're all addressing, some of us are addressing specific goals that maybe are unique barriers to others, but many of us are dealing with the same goals, trying to really work on the same goals. So here's a list of some of the things when we are recreating that we're working on: gross motor skills, fine motor skills, balance, hand-eye coordination. Stop me if you want to ask about any of those. Physical agility, you know, making quick turns, you know, being able to keep upright by, you know, when you're starting to fall and you grab something. Joint and bone health, right? We talk about weight bearing. That would be where you're actually hitting the ground because you're using your joints are actually contacting something. Swimming is not weight bearing, but walking is weight bearing, and hiking is weight bearing. Do you think cycling is weight bearing?
Yes.
You don't think swimming is weight bearing?
Technically, swimming and bicycling are not considered weight bearing. And again, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think weight bearing is actually, you know, hitting the pavement, because what that does is it improve that resistance against your bones and joints. That's what helps you prevent like developing osteoporosis. So it's got to be actually hitting the ground. It's cardiovascular though, Megan. It is definitely cardiovascular, so that's good. And I didn't even put that cardiovascular for some of the activities. Certainly fellowship, right, which is super important. We are not islands, although we're on our own islands lately. But we, you know, we are social beings. So fellowship is a really important thing. Spatial perception. So that's a really kind of understanding where we are within our environment. That's sometimes a function that's lost or damaged after an injury. So that's a really important thing that we work on and gain back. Judgment, cognitive ability. What? Somebody say something?
I would say that social perception was very important for me when I was relearning to walk.
Right, exactly. Yes. Not only balance and agility, but right. And other things I don't have here, your other senses, vestibular sense, which is about balance, right? Vestibular and proprioceptive, which is one of our 7 senses.
Rhonda, sorry to interrupt. Someone has a question about.
Yeah.
I recently bought a mini trampoline, and I was wondering if that's weight bearing, because I am hitting something, but I'm not hitting the ground.
You know, that's a really good question. And like I said, I'm not an expert, but I think it would qualify. And it would be softening the blow, but of hitting, a hard surface. But I don't know why that wouldn't qualify. Maybe it's an in-betweener kind of thing.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, but that's a good question. And it certainly is at least addressing that to some level. And it's also addressing cardiovascular and balance for sure, because you have to really work hard to keep upright when you're bouncing. What a fun activity. That's awesome. Okay, let's see what else. Understanding of words, right? We talk about receptive and expressive aphasia. Very, very common. Language, our main language center, I know it's very complex, but basically we think of the temporal lobe as, Sharon, I see you have an Aussie, and I do too, and they look very similar. Sorry. Anyway, so the addressing issues with aphasia when we're reading, when we're listening to the spoken word, written word, and having conversations, singing, all those things. We're addressing some of those issues with processing. Memory, of course, memory. And the last two should be the first two, which is sense of self and sense of well-being. Like we said, right at the front. That is so important. What I have found, what I have witnessed, it seems that when first somebody has an injury, it's all about of survival. So it's like triage, and then it's, we get stabilized. We know we're going to survive this. Now it's recovering physically and getting ourselves physically back together, and then figuring out what it is that we're missing, or we have to start working towards to regain ourselves and to function at our fullest. This tends to be where when we're starting to heal, this is where, like, I like to come in, because this is really about you rediscovering yourself, sometimes your new self, as people say, and rediscovering what makes you unique and what excites you again. Those are the things that went away when we were first injured. So it's an important step, and I think the most important in leisure.
I have a question.
So we've got to be creative now, because now we know, okay, this is a really important component to my health and my continual recovery. But we can't do all those things because so many opportunities have been unplugged from our lives. So we need to figure out creative ways to attend to them. And that's why it's important to not just socially and for fellowship to attend these groups and keep connected, even if it's through video, because you may have ideas that I haven't thought of. I may have ideas you haven't thought of. You might not know about a resource that I found out about. Our team, Gail Ludwig and Associates, we have on our Google files, we actually have a list of resources online, or usually, that we share with each other, because that's important. We can then use it with other clients. And I have a list, just a partial list too, of just some ideas of websites and apps and stuff like that. And we'll get to that in a minute. But We can exercise at home. We can exercise out at the park. Um, for instance, my husband and I, right before this all took place, the pandemic hit, we took up archery, and they closed temporarily. And then what they've done, they started opening and taking reservations so that families could go in, or people could go in one at a time, and then they clean up between and so forth. So there are ways around it in some cases. And in some cases, we just need to, get on a video or do a YouTube class or whatever, something so that we're maintaining our physical well-being. And then our mental and cognitive well-being, of course, yes. And you think of the things, like I said, it's not all just fun and games. It's really work. It's working our brain when we're painting. It's working our brain when we're doing puzzles. It's working our brain when we're playing cards, and doing things like, meditation, even playing games. We're all those things we were talking about, focused attention, divided attention, what do I want to say? Initiation, creativity, even a distant conversation is
Yes.
good. It's socializing and fellowshipping. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But we find ways. So what I've been doing personally is, like, a lot of the houses, the supported living homes, I had kind of a 3 a.m. aha back in like March or April. And I thought, I'm going to put art boxes together, project boxes. And so every week I make one for each home, and then I deliver them. And then we use Zoom and do them together.
Wow.
So, we find ways. And I have become so much more comfortable with technology, with what I can find and do over the computer.
Sure.
Rhonda, that's kind of the ideas, and Leanne, that's kind of, we've recently done some virtual day of art events. We used to do those in person, and we got a grant from the NTC Foundation. We did 2 of those last year, and we hope to do more this year. And that's exactly what we do. We send out art kits, and then we have a professional artist facilitate a day of art. It's a awesome creative activity and a time to have some social connection as well. So it was really, really fun.
This is our social connection of just getting on Zoom and talking with other people.
Exactly, Megan. Yeah.
So the last thing also is being creative in ways to attend to our emotional and spiritual well-being, right? And I just put a couple pictures here. Meditating, listening to music. Also, maybe nowadays I put religious images up here, because I'm not going to assume everybody is of all one religion. But you know how many churches are online now? We have to be creative and patient, but also creative. So here is a list I said that I kind of put together. See, I'm sorry, I don't know if I can make it any larger, but basically it's some resources, mainly to just show you, look, if you want to dance, there is actually a group that gets together. I think it's out of the UK, and they get together and they dance virtually. Virtual senior classes. There is a great, and I know we're not all fitting in that category, but trust me, they don't ID you at the Zoom door. Seniorplanet.org. My client that's on the phone, Gail, her and I tried a Tai Chi class through them, gentle Tai Chi. It's free. They started offering them because of the pandemic. and it's a Zoom class. And one thing I didn't know about Zoom classes, which I will tell you all now, if you don't want to be seen, just turn your camera off. Silly me. We were like the only ones that had our camera on. So everybody was watching us look ridiculous trying Tai Chi for the first time. I thought we were the only ones on in the class. And then it turned out there were so many, but we were the only ones who didn't turn our camera off. There's chair yoga classes. They also have like art and writing, and then they do technology. So if you wanted to get more comfortable with your Apple or Android or whatever. And I have links here. I'll send this page to Kurt, and however he wants to offer access. But it's like I said, just, and I always try and find things that don't cost too much or that are free, that are reasonable. Theater, I just found this one. National Theater, I want to say Association, NTA. They are offering, it's not free, but it's very reasonable, where you can see live musicals and live theater, like from London and New York. You rent it, and it's like maybe $11 or something like that, and you watch a live theater performance, stage performance. And then, of course, all my buds at Sharp Grossmont. I've worked with them for years. I've met them, you know, like I said, we all kind of know each other in this field. So we bump into each other all the time in different venues. And they have a recreational program there, recreational therapy department. They have a great indoor pool that has been closed this whole time. And I'm not in a hurry for them to open because it's an indoor heated pool. And so I want them to be very, very sure that, you know, getting in it's safe. But it's adaptive swimming. They've got an adaptive swimming program, very reasonable prices. But then they also have, you can look at their calendar. They have all sorts of activities and classes and resources. A lot of them obviously aren't meeting in person now. So they're doing some Zoom where they can. But keep that in mind, because as we turn a corner on this, that's going to be a great resource. Brain fitness, and of course, there's tons of things online. And I think that's an area that's growing rapidly because they realize people need these things. So I put a couple links to brain fitness. Of course, we all know Lumosity. That was kind of the first one, but there's a ton of them.
Rhonda, we hear a lot about Lumosity in our community, and something in the chat was just posted about Lumosity. Do you have any comments about Lumosity?
Well, you know, it's funny because I've heard where the research says that doesn't really do that much, you know, that those brain games don't do that much, but I can't see how they don't, because, and maybe it could be different for an injured brain opposed to an aging brain, or the amount of time you put into it. I love it because the things that we address when, first of all, what you do with Lumosity and most of those brain game sites is they assess you. They may ask you, what do you want to work on? Reasoning, memory, mental agility. And then based on which I always say everything, why would you not? They give you little games, and a lot of them you could pay money, but there's a free version and you're allowed to go on like for 20, you know, one time a day. They recommend 15 to 20 minutes or whatever. And I love them, and I use them with my work, and I find them to be very, very useful. They really do address, and you can tell where there's a deficit if it's no memory or initiation or like cognitive flexibility or speed, you can tell if you have a client who has trouble processing. You can see, and you can usually adjust some of those games. When I didn't, you can look this up. This is not an app, it's a web base. It's called Tell Me Wow, TELLMEWOW, Tell Me Wow. And it's titled Senior Games, but they're great, and you can pick different levels. So, and you can, once you get to a certain level, you can always go back. I can add that to this list because I don't know why I didn't put that on there. That's a good one. And then, so there's also brain game apps, and I put that on here. Some are free, some cost, and usually apps that don't cost money usually are sponsored. So there's commercials. Some are $2.99, $3.99. Some of them can be costly, so you have to really always be aware of that. But I put down, like, for CogniFit, I hope I answered that okay, the best I could on Lumosity, by the way. I like them. I think they're effective. And I think that the research is probably still out.
Great answer. It was a great answer. Thank you.
You know, it's interesting. My father is dealing with Parkinson's and dementia, a particular dementia that goes along with Parkinson's. And I have been spending time with him, helping his wife and stuff like that. And I found an app the other day. Where is it? I found an app the other day and I downloaded it. I haven't started using it yet, but it's an app that's really meant for, oh, here it is, to help memory, long-term memory for those that, you know, are suffering with that loss. And it's called House of Memories. And it was free. I'm showing it to you right now. That's the picture of it. I haven't done anything with it, but I think you're supposed to be able to add familiar pictures and songs that you are associating it with some really clear memories. So we can look at that. That's really interesting. So sometimes it's not often, but sometimes there's you know, Apple or Android will offer something exclusive, but usually there's a version for both.
I will look at it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and that addresses long-term memory, and that could be fun for you to do with your kids because they could help you find some things to place on that thing, and then you get to look through them and talk about them. And so those are the things that we can do to address that and strengthen some of those deficits, those areas we lost.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then mind and body improvement apps. I just found a few, Personal Zen, Happify. You don't have to write these down. You don't want to, because I can send this.
Okay, yes.
I can forward this. Right.
Thank
so,
you. Thank you. Yes.
Yoga. I think yoga, there was this app called Yoga Poses and Classes. I'm pretty sure they have a free version up to a certain level, you know, so much is free. And then you can join if it's something you really like doing, but it's all virtual. So I put the Android and then the Apple user information on that.
Good.
So, but you know, really, if there's nothing else you take away from this, I want you to be encouraged to be creative. Be encouraged to be creative and to reach out when you're stuck, because other people might have ideas that you didn't think of. But we are on islands for a little bit longer, and I really believe there is we're in a tunnel and there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And as my sister used to say, hopefully it's not a train. I think it's pretty sure it's not a train. But you know, we are coming through this, but we can't give up yet. So let's not give up on ourselves
Yes.
before we get to the end of this. We're all in this together. So if I think I don't do anything that spectacularly special. I do, though, find one of my strengths is in resourcing. I will, if you want to learn clogging, I'm pretty sure I could find a clogging group. There is so much out there if you know how to access it. So, and one of the nice things, because we're in this very small community, the brain injury community just seems so small and intimate, that we can reach out to each other, and we can find resources, like I said, share. So it would be great. And I'll talk to Kurt about that more. And whoever else you would want to pull into that we could collaboratively, come up with resources, and that's, and that, like I'm giving you the name of the Grossmont Rehab Recreational Therapy Group link, because they have a ton of resources too. So I could add that to our resource list. And once we come through this and we can actually be together, right, and hug each other and, laugh together in person, there are a ton of things that I could also offer as resources for physically getting out there and participating. Yeah.
I like the quote, never let what you cannot do keep you from doing what you can do. I like that very much.
Love that quote.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, me too. It's great.
So can I stop sharing?
Of course. Yes, yes.
I'll never stop sharing. But okay, I'm back.
Rhonda, what was the thing you were going to add to the resources? What was that site again?
Tell Me Wow. But they have memory that you can focus on just certain games. Like you can download, and they're free. Visual, spatial, memory, reasoning games, attention games, and coordination games. So cognitive coordination. And so all the games in there, they may be like 6 games in it. And they're all focused on just memory or coordination, right? Things like that. So it's a really good resource. Yeah. And I just yeah, you're welcome. And it's kind of cool now, and I'm kind of learning how to use it. Well, Zoom is great, and Skype is good too, because you can share your screen and you can play games. You can play games together. Some apps I have, or some sites, you can actually play games together. I have so much more to add to this list. There's a site called cardgames.io. All right. And you go on there and you create your own little character. And somebody else comes in, they create their character. You meet in a game room and you can play a game. You can play checkers together. You can play chess together. You can, all these card games, and then kind of board games. Yeah. Any way we can get together. You know what I did creatively with one of my clients is, because he likes to play games, so we do those sometimes. And then what we did was I got like Battleship. everybody's played Battleship sometime in their life, right? You have the coordinates and all that.
Yeah.
So I gave him half his you know, thing, game piece, and I have mine, and we played Battleship over Zoom.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many things that we can do if we just, you know, get our creative mind going and
D8.
share information.
Sharon, around a D8.
D8.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cynthia, did you have a question? Go ahead.
No, just kind of on the line of being creative. I go to therapy riding once a week, and
Nice.
there's a young gal there, and we do origami after we ride. So
Wow.
I've been actually, while this is going on, doing origami, and then I recently got my grand stepdaughter an origami book, and so now we do origami and send pictures back and forth of what
that's
we're
so
making
cool.
or new instructions. So
Kudos to you,
just
Cynthia, for doing that.
Yeah.
creative. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
So,
Can I tell you?
it keeps you so you're not so isolated.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, that's spatial reasoning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you work and you're using your hands with
Mhm.
your brain, and I have a problem doing cross brain stuff. So yeah, it definitely, well, to me it's, you know, it's just pretty fun.
Really cool.
Yeah,
Have
that's
something
great.
that looks cool.
For
in your
sharing
hand.
that.
So-
Great activity.
Really cool. Can I add something to that? You know,
Yeah.
Rhonda, it sounds like you're saying, because we hear this all the time, right, in our community of, you know, engaging in something that's working your brain, and you just get tired, you know, physically, mentally, just tired. And it sounds like what you're saying, Rhonda, is that's a good sign that you're exercising your brain. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Well, think about it just like your body too. When you're exercising, after a while, that 1 mile is no big deal. And so you kind of have to either add a hill or add another mile, right? Add some weight, whatever it is. It's because your body acclimates and it gets stronger, and our brain's the same way, you know? So you have to recognize it, like Cynthia's saying, okay, 10 arrows. But if you do that after a while, maybe 12 arrows will be, you know, what you can.
Exactly.
Because you're strengthening your cognitive neural pathways, and you're developing, you know, neurogenesis, the idea that we actually develop neurons. We develop more brain cells. They didn't always think that, but I'm sure brain injury research, brain injured individuals were where a lot of that, you know, research stemmed from.
Yeah.
Because one thing that I didn't comment on was that this is also a time. Why don't we learn something new? You know, we can also learn. Like, we don't have to always just it doesn't necessarily have to be about leisure and recreation. But, you know, there's free websites that where you can learn a new language, and they use visual and auditory components to enhance a learning experience. You can I learned to bake bread, and I give it a lot of it away because I don't want to eat it all, but I learned to bake bread, or learn about why music, research that, learn about what does music do in our brain, you know, when we're exercising or when we're learning, why is it so important? You know, so this can be an opportunity for us to develop ourselves in many ways, learn something new.
Okay, well, Thank you, Rhonda. Any closing statements you want to make? Thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it.
I don't really have anything closing, but just to say that, and when when I help someone, I help two people because I help myself too. So today, by sharing all of this and my encouragement has made my day better. So I get to go out there feeling full of, all this good feeling. And
Well, thank you so much. And
thank you guys. Thanks everybody. Friends.
thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Hopefully.